Hello, welcome to Tenant Spin. It's 11 o'clock, it's Liverpool. My name's Mark Hobson. Today I've got with me Simon Hyde, who's an artist working with Rossetta Life, and Nikki Grundy, who's working in Wilson Motor Neurone Disease Centre. I think probably the first thing we'll do, we'll go to a video about Rossetta Life, and then we'll have a chat with Simon about what they get up to.
Getting used to them, or even accepting them. I'm still angry inside that I've got this illness because I had such a good future planned for myself and Hillary. It's an illness that you would not wish on your worst enemy. At the end of the day, you must keep a sense of humour.
I can get this leaf right now, but what I might do is just fine-tune the rose.
Fortunately,
like the colour of the rose?
I've always had a very good sense of humour. Incredible. I often think back to the time before I retired and the illness took over.
There it goes. Do you like that line going up through the middle?
Yes. It looks a
patterns
bit
like this,
like the tree of life. And
Get
think
the rose a
of
bit
the
bigger and then you can see.
very, very active life that I had.
Can make it brighter.
I
darker.
did have a very healthy diet. Get better, brighter. I used to go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, and I'd work out for an hour. You could argue a fat lot of good is done, don't we now?
No, so we know that this is approximately right, colour-wise.
The background is good, and so is the rose.
So I'll save that.
Could we try for a blood red?
You prefer the shape of this one?
Yeah.
It's a bit softer, isn't it?
I notice very small changes over a period of, say, a week at a time. For instance, most weekends, Hillary and I try to go out in the car, which means Hillary has to put me in the wheelchair, get me out of the house, help me to get into the car, and each time it is slightly more difficult. Your brain is telling your body what to do, but it seems to be almost no reaction from the parts of the body you're trying to move.
Takes quite a long time to say.
Unfortunately, I'm on quite a low dose of antidepressants, which seem to control it. So consequently, although the things become increasingly difficult, I also realise that it's going to happen anyway. It's almost a case where you think that something like Alzheimer's would be an advantage if you have this illness, because you can't remember how you were several years ago.
Let me see how I can write
Even a year and a half ago.
You can get that now.
Hello?
Dad, it's Richard.
Can you go back, please?
Okay.
Bye.
Speak to you later.
How's that getting?
Now, in the butterfly world, there is a purple emperor. I thought of something along the lines of purple empress.
Would you please put your hands together and welcome Georgia de Groot.
Georgia and I met at St John's Hospice a year ago now, in October 99. And we together, well, Georgia wrote the poems about living with motor neurone.
About 10 hospices up and down the country. We've got one in Sheffield and one down in Devon. So it's quite spread.
Right,
up
so you
and
spread
down
you're
the
countrywide,
yeah.
but you're based in...
Based in London.
Right, okay.
And
And it came up from 1999, you
That's
came,
right.
and you've been going great guns ever since, whatever. The person we saw in the programme, she works for Rossetta Life, or she's just another...
That's right, yeah. She was an artist who worked closely with David. And how we usually work is we sit and talk with the person who's been referred to us. And in that discussion, try and find some aspect of their life that puts them in different space to where they are, so they can different space, so that we give that a form, an artistic form to that. And the discussion with David revealed that he used to be involved in car lacquering and also had a love for roses, so we were able to bring the two together to create impossibly coloured roses.
Okay, I mean, from the film, just watching the film, he seemed quite open and honest about how depressed he was and what have you. Stupid question, obvious question is, did you see any improvement from day one, and how did he go on from...
I don't know, I didn't work with David, but the people I've worked with, often the nursing staff will comment on a general sort of change that they go through. Because there's several things that are accomplished. One's a self-empowerment.
Right.
Another one is there's a lot of...
if I could ask Nikki, have you seen a difference?
I think from Rossetta Life worked I worked out in London, and I'm based up in Liverpool. The people that work with Rossetta Life, I think it gave them a chance not to be a patient anymore. Because I think if people with a life-threatening illness become caught up in being a patient, in medication, and in not having very much control over what's happening, and I think with Rossetta Life, it gives them a chance to be expressive, to be a person again, to be able to use technology, to be able to do whatever they want, really, to create something for themselves and their families, and to share with people. So I think what we're hoping is, if people with motor neuron disease up in this area would like to be involved in some kind of project with Rossetta Life, we'll be very happy to try and work with them to try and set something up.
Sure, so they contact you at the Woolton Centre, which is...
The Woolton Centre, my number is 0151 529 5070, and obviously I'll be talking to Rossetta Life as well over the next few weeks, if there is interest. If there's not, that's fine, but we'd really like to see if you would like to work with us.
Right, okay.
you can also see the works from that piece online on a website as well.
Right, at Rossetta.
That's RosettaLife.org. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So they were the work.
One of the issues is that when we work with someone, they have complete control over where the work is. So they might just want to make something that they want to show to someone else, or they might just for themselves. it's not like we ask if that's the case, then that's
right.
what
I mean,
happens.
yeah.
If some want it to go on the website, some want it to go in the community area where they can update their own work in their own time. And one of the aims is to provide training for people within the hospice so that the work can be carried on, because usually we're only funded for about 6 months.
Right.
So the aim is to provide a basis in the hospital so that the nursing staff and volunteers can continue the work.
Yeah, I mean, it seems some modern art seems to have an aspect of death running through it. I mean, do you get depressed when you're thinking about this? Or
right. I have support to help me deal with that. Yeah.
Right.
But sometimes, it is hard. I mean, I've known 5 people who I've worked with this year who are no longer here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, where do you think it's come? Has it come from? Do you see? Is it a gap? Is it because? Big question. Is it because these people are lacking family structures? Maybe families have split up throughout the country. Is there a lack of traditional religious support, say, in a priest that maybe would have taken up the slack, as it were, in the past? To use jargon, or is it just the fact we live in a modern age and you can have it and it's a good thing to have? A combination of all of those.
It's difficult to. I personally would think that I would say that I think our society has because it's taken on so much American culture. American culture doesn't have an understanding, or it doesn't relate to death very easily.
Right, right. Well, that's an interesting point, because 9/11 seemed to affect them so much more. It seemed to be a trauma throughout the entire. Well, it was very traumatic, but it seemed to actually hit right at the psyche, the core of the psyche. Whereas people maybe who'd been in the Blitz just said, "Well, it's a Blitz, we get on with it." The bloke in the film, two things he seemed to be saying to himself: "I hate this, obviously. I'm on antidepressants, but I've got to have a sense of humour." That's
such a strong thing that comes across when you start working with people. Amazing sense of humour, amazing strength as well.
Right.
Yeah.
What I mean is that?
I think it's about, obviously having a diagnosis like motor neuron disease or cancer, whatever kind of life-threatening ones we're talking about.
Right.
It just changes your life and changes the way you look at things. But I think from working with people with motor neuron disease and other serious illnesses, there's an amazing will to be adaptive, to still enjoy life and to be able to live life how people want to, and I think that's what we're trying to help people do. So part of my job is trying to make sure people have the right support, can have some control over what's happening, that their symptoms are controlled so they can get on with living. Right. And I think that's what the focus is. Of course, we talk about dying, and that's a process that everybody needs to face at some point. But that's a natural process.
Well, yeah, it's nothing to be afraid of, eh?
Well, there's lots that can be done to make sure people's quality of life is as good as possible.
Sure.
And Rossetta Life's part of that.
Sure. I mean, your specific motor neuron disease is, if you could just give us...
Basically, it's a progressive neurological disease, so it affects the nerves that control our movement. We don't know why it's caused at the moment. It's probably lots of different causes. And usually people may go to their GP with maybe some weakness or something like that. Right. It's quite difficult to diagnose. People often go through a while to get diagnosed. Right. And then they may have quite severe disabilities which progress over a period of usually years. So people can end up not being able to walk, not being able to move their limbs. It can affect speech, like the man on the video whose speech was affected. It can affect swallowing. So obviously people have problems communicating. They have problems being in control of what's happening to them. So it's very important that we try and make sure the right services are put in so people have some control, have some freedom about what they're doing. So it's a horrible disease. There's no cure at the moment, but there's lots can be done.
So there's no cure, I mean... Not
at the moment, no.
So it's basically terminal?
Well, it's a life-limiting disease. It affects people very individually. Right. So, for some people it may proceed quite quickly.
But they might have a normal life for what?
For a while. I mean, it's a very individual illness, so you can't say, for everybody with motor neuron disease, this is what's going to happen, which is part of the reason why my job is about making sure people are monitored very closely to make sure we pick up problems before they become too insurmountable. Right,
because this was to get into a spiral. It's easy to just grind yourself into the ground or whatever, especially if you're surrounded by other sick people. Yeah. Well, I noticed looking after, it is a problem, yes, having dealt with, looked after relatives myself, they'd all had strokes. It's easy to become a groaning you get together and it's like, oh, we like a good grumble, but it almost can go too far. It can like push yourself over the edge, and somebody alternatively coming in and giving an arts project sure would help. We're just wondering if you got any online chat questions. Because this is, I explained about talent spin. We try and involve people in the studio, online, and chat and whatever. If you want, if anyone here's got any questions, have you got a question?
I would like to ask. And so much money now the NHS is putting into PT trusts, and there's three that I know of: the North, the South, and the Central. And they reckon that the Central PT Trust is over 260 odd. Patients or people with disabilities, whatever. So I've been involved recently with a Pat Homley, who is, we've raised this as a member of Senior Citizens Board. I've raised how elderly people are so long on trolleys, and how can we help to save them from lying on trolleys for so many hours, being criticised, our age group, the bed blocking, that horrible word, bed blocking. So what I'm really getting, I made up that brochure, why can't we have some money spent on us to educate ourselves, to accept or try and accept whatever we've got and be motivated more into our communities. So this is what she's doing. And it started, well, I'm from Vauxhall, it started in Everton, and two have got off the ground in Granby to get people to do a course, but you've got to have like at least about 18 people, to do a course in their communities, and people that have got something wrong with them, trained to help these people along with whatever they've got.
Right.
And I think it's brilliant.
Well, I mean, I think it's a management truism that, and this is how management consultants make their money, that it's almost irrelevant what you do with people, but the fact you take an interest in them means they perk up. I think it's been well in industry. If you come along and say, "Why? How do we get these people to be more productive?" You start talking to them, they go, "Oh, right, I'm interested," and they become involved again. If the productivity goes up, the management consultants say, "Right, that's brilliant. I'll have all our money," and they go away again. Obviously, I'm not comparing artists to management consultants, but there is that attention-seeking effect. I mean, we live in a society, obviously, where everybody wants to be is seeking attention all the time, especially celebrities, and it's nice to see that you're not concentrating on something like that. Where do you see it going? I mean,
where do I see it
developing from here? Yeah.
Well, next year we're doing a big. Every 6 months, each hospice does a celebration.
Right.
Where if the person who's created work shows the work, so it can be showing their video, showing their prints to all the people that are invited to come along. So that's a sort of ongoing thing.
Right. Has anybody won any prizes? Has anybody been exhibited, or?
We had a big exhibition at the hospice I used to work at. So patients from the hospice, we covered the whole of the top floor, so people come along and have a look at that.
Right.
Families could come along as well.
Right.
So,
Right.
but it's really how people want to develop it. You know, the people with MND in this area that we're hoping to get interested. It's what they want to do.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think there is. Yeah, you're right. It's some people want to have a quiet.
Yeah, some people might not want to do that, but that's fine. It's giving people the choice.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's there's no one best thing, is there? I mean, there's no painting or artwork or video, isn't it? It depends what people want to do.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's what's so interesting. In a sense, you never really know what's going to happen when you meet someone.
Right.
Suddenly they'll be telling you these stories, or they'll want to make something. We had someone in Clacton-on-Sea who was making a huge 15-foot angel.
Right.
Out of
somebody's taken that idea from somewhere else.
On the seashore, and during the last moment said that I think her death, they were going to the local lighthouse was going to be lighting it up.
Oh, right.
So that was quite a large.
Again, you can view this online.
I'm not sure you can view the construction of the angel online. What is a mermaid rather, not an angel.
Right.
But next year we've got a big exhibition, a 2-week exhibition in London that should be going on tour of various works as well.
Okay. Have we any online?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'd just like to welcome Michael, MC Cake, John from the Merseyside Youth Centre, Jean and fellow tenants in Sefton, Vibke, HQ admin, and Alan Dan, they're all watching online. Thanks very much for chatting. We've had a few questions and comments, people asking more about the Rossetta, and I think they've heard more and they've really supported it. I think it's a great idea. More information about, I think, artist projects is required, and just general support about the project. But if anyone's watching and not logging onto the chat, there's a link in the just underneath your video feed, so come and join us. And just like to welcome B-Star from Copenhagen, so we'll be seeing you this evening. All right then, thanks very much. Back to you, Mark.
Okay.
Well, they can view the online work at the Rossetta site.
Okay, and what's your website, Simon? I'll type it into the chat.
www.rosettalife.org.
Okay, and
I think there's another S in Rossetta.
No, that's it.
Is that it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, then. So it's back to you, Mark.
Right, I'll shut up now and say nothing. I'll ask you to carry on. Is there any way, how can we get in touch with you? I mean, if somebody's watching and they say, I've got maybe not motor neurone disease, but something like this, they think they're a carer, and they think this would be good for the person. I mean, possibly from a slightly selfish point of view, that it take the burden off them for a day or two or a week. What actually happened? How can they get in touch with you?
Well, there are lots of different organisations depending on obviously who you're caring for. I only deal with people with motor neuron disease.
Right,
okay. I'm based at the Walton Centre, so I can be contacted there.
Right.
The other people to do with motor neuron disease is the Motor Neuron Disease Association, who are a national charity who give a lot of support out to people as well. They have a helpline number. They also have a very good website, which is www.mndassociation.org.
Right, mndassociation.org.
.org. Yeah, and they can be contacted. They've got lots of information up there as well.
Right. As one, just as a personal side, one thing as a carer, there is so much. I mean, it's financial help issues. So I mean, we are just absolutely crying out for a joined-up government. Because I'm lazy, and I would like to just say, well, this is where it all is. I want piece of information. I want to find it.
Carers across the country, carers are entitled to have what's called a carers assessment, which means their needs are looked at in terms of supporting the person they're caring for, and they should be able to contact their local social services department, who will tell them about it. This is like a right to have a carers assessment, so if they ask about that. Or for Citizens Advice Bureau are very good at advising carers on what's available. There's lots of different projects in Liverpool and Sefton, Merseyside, so it really depends on where you live. So I think social services are probably the first people to contact, and they'll be able to tell people what's available in their area. And
obviously, but at the point, as I say, the main thing is the person who's had this life-threatening illness. They can have an artist come and talk to them about what they would like to do. If we can get some feedback, the Walton Centre covers a very big area, so we have people with MND that come from Wales, from Merseyside, from North the Wirral, so wherever. So if people want to contact me, and we can find out what they want to do, and then we'll be talking about it with Rossetta Life. Okay. Thank you very much. Time, I know we've got a lot to cover. Time's against it. It's almost 11:30. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Thanks for everyone for logging in. Yeah. Any other questions?
Are there any other chat questions?
No, not yet.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Well, if you, are you staying for the rest of the day, or are you getting back? Or
I've got a train at 5:15, so
hang around, please. Whatever.
I need to go back to the Walton Centre at some point. So.
Okay, thank you very much for coming out. It's Simon Hyde from Rossetta Life, and I'll try and get the website, rosettalife.org, and Nikki Grundy from Wilton Motor Neuron Disease. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Thank you very much for tuning in to Tenant Spin. Stay tuned, because it's going to get even more exciting than me. I can't believe it. All right, is that it? 11:30? Yes. Okay, sure.
Very, very sad. Not anybody like that. Very emotional. And you feel sorry for the carers.
But it's not. Yeah, that's right.
I could imagine looking at that, being so active and that.
But it's not.
Do you want to start by?
I'll introduce you.
Okay, and then you want me just to give an overview?
Exactly.
Want me to look in, or I'll answer your questions? Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and let me introduce, I'm Dolly Lloyd from the Publicity Group, and I would like to introduce Naomi Graham. She's a project manager, and at the moment she's working for the City Council. And this is a very interesting project for my age group, maybe younger. We don't know the way the world's going now as regards this project, because it's all about security and in your own home, which is so important. So I'll pass it over to Naomi, and she's going to tell us all about this telecare project.
Thanks, Dolly.
Okay?
Right. I'm actually running a project at Liverpool City Council, and it's called Telecare, and it's based on protecting vulnerable, particularly older vulnerable people in their own homes. I mean, we have an increasing number of older vulnerable people across Liverpool. We have increasing costs of actually looking after them. People tend to want to live in their own homes, actually reside within their own community and maintain their links. So Telecare is a project that's aimed to support that. And it's doing that by using the modern technologies that we've got, you know, really using groundbreaking technologies, a series of small discrete sensors in an individual's home connected to a monitoring unit that will be able to identify if there are any issues of concern and set off a series of alarms, calling up the individual concerned, contacting a carer or contacting the Liverpool City Council if necessary. So what we're aiming to do is to improve the care that we offer and to actually provide additional support and, as you say, improve the security, the feeling of confidence at being within your own home.
Right. The only thing that worries me really, Naomi, is I'm going over 20 years ago and I was involved in something similar called a lifeline.
Right.
And that lifeline was a telephone, as you say, for the security of a person's home. But with you being City Council, I was wondering, would you be in partnership with Lifeline as well as BT?
Absolutely. The idea at the moment is not to replace. We actually don't want to sort of withdraw services. The whole aim of the project is to improve the services that we offer.
Right.
So for those people that don't have Lifeline, we're actually looking at providing that via BT. For those that do, they'll actually retain it for the pilot.
Right. The other thing is, we know it's already happening in our age group, pension-wise. People on benefits and other people have to pay because of having more. And the
having additional services, yeah.
Exactly. So it does say in the notes that this could be free.
Okay. We're actually running a pilot at the moment, so we're focusing on 20 individuals across the 3 areas of Liverpool, looking at all the different scenarios and situations that we actually might want to monitor and catch. So during the life of the pilot, which is the next 12 to 18 months, we'll be identifying exactly, you know, the sorts of alarms that we're capturing, the sorts of help that we can be offering. And the idea is actually that we'll be able to reduce costs for the service.
Yeah. So where our Lifeline is in the Vauxhall, the centre, where will you have your centre?
We've got Liverpool Direct, which actually runs Careline, which is the social services one-stop telephone call shop. And I can give the telephone number, which is 0151 233 3019. And that's just a single point of information for all the services for adults and young people.
Yeah. So as you say, you want 20 volunteers.
We're looking for 20 volunteers. We're working with social workers, occupational therapists and home care managers at the moment to identify people who actually might want to volunteer to come forward. So if anybody is interested, then they can either contact me directly, and I'll give my number at the end, or they can approach their social worker, occupational therapist or home care manager to help.
Right. Now, as you say, it's going to be a long pilot.
Yes, yeah.
You're talking about 18 months now.
Potentially, yes.
So we're a long way off, like everything else.
Well,
it takes time.
It does take
time, you know.
It does. What I'd like to see is some, you know, if we start seeing the initial benefits come through, is expanding the pilot. And we might be expanding it, looking at predictive, running a research project for predictive alarms to identify if somebody, for example, is getting increasingly slow in their movements, we might use that as a predictor for a balance problem. And so catch people before they fall, I think is the perfect way of putting it. So that's one way we could expand the pilot. Another way is expanding it to more people. So we could actually look at saying, look, it's providing benefit already. Let's start bringing this in earlier.
So we're talking about single homes now, aren't we, as well as sheltered schemes that you've already...
Yes, we're actually looking for people in their own individual homes.
In their own individual homes. And will there be like a sort of a test case for them people? Well, you know, for the disability age group, I know it's for the elderly, like, but we've got some not in an elderly group, but have got a disability of some kind and have got no families that live alone. How would them people?
Okay. Once again, it's looking at expanding the pilot. If we start actually seeing benefits, then we'll be able to expand it, you know, breadthways across the range of abilities and sort of depthways in terms of the age groups that we're actually offering to.
Can I just interrupt you? I've got a couple of chatters looking for more information about, do they have to be based in Liverpool, or presume they have to be based around Liverpool, or...?
It's a service provided by Liverpool City Council for citizens of Liverpool City Council.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so that's we're looking at candidates from North Liverpool, South Liverpool and Central Liverpool, so we can get a broad cover across the areas.
Good.
What do they have to, I mean, do they have to be caring for somebody, or...?
No, the candidates themselves can be living on their own. They can actually have a number of carers or in receipt of home care. The whole idea being is that if there's an alarm, if the sensors and monitoring system identify that something is wrong, for example, a door's been left unlocked for a long period of time, a cooker's been left on, there's been a lack of movement or something like that. The system will actually call the individual in their home and then ask if they're okay. If they are, they can just reply it's fine, or they can take remedial action. You know, they can turn the cooker off, they can turn the heating up if we've identified cold. The second stage is that if no response has been made, then they'll actually call, the monitoring system will call Liverpool Direct Call Centre to say, look, we're concerned. And that call centre will then try to make contact with the individual, and failing that will make contact with either the carer, a neighbour, or a social services representative if necessary.
I know this is a good scheme. You know, I'm really thrilled to hear that people living alone in their own homes. You know, you're all looking at this. But what worries me also is people are getting discharged from hospitals now, and they do need equipment in their homes, you know, Naomi. I know yours is a technology thing, but it worries me when people are coming home, I know, in your community, which you know, and they're waiting for stair lifts before they can get up to bed. And they have to have their bed downstairs. There's some very difficult cases, can't climb the stairs, you know. And I think they should be looking at equipment as well as the technology side. You know what I mean, Naomi? Because working in the community, you get this across, and you feel sorry for them people coming out of hospital, being discharged. And
I think there's 2 points on that. One is that there are other projects who I can invite to come in to talk to you about the sort of equipment provision process. The second thing is if telecare takes off, we'll actually be able to realistically identify what problems do exist. Some people might actually say, no, I'm fine, you know, I'm capable on my own, I can do X, Y and Z, and we'll identify that there are some additional help that they need, or that there is some additional help that they need. So I think there's two things there. I know resources, is the money is coming in now, you know. It is coming in now. And how do we reach out to people? How are you going to do that at City Council? We know everyone's not on the web or computers, you know, but the ordinary elderly, how will you reach out about this scheme? You know, for your volunteers,
for, you know, what you're saying here, what's going to happen maybe, you know.
Through the likes of yourself, I hope, Dolly.
Right, I hope so.
I mean,
I hope
one is through the Senior Citizens Forum, another is through Age Concern, the Active Ageing, through the web, obviously.
Right.
But then there's also through the individuals, the home care helps that actually go and visit, and all the people that have contact with the vulnerable and the elderly to actually promote the schemes and the services that we do offer.
Good.
Okay.
Is there...
I was going to say, can I just pick up on the whole thing about the web? One of the things that we are doing, you mentioned that there weren't very many people actually on the internet. That's the other scheme that I'm looking at, and it's currently called the Older Persons Information Network. And if anybody out there can think of a better name, we'd be very grateful. It's based on providing information and services across the internet to a focus group, i.e. the sort of older people of Liverpool City Council. So I think projects such as the Rossetta project that we've heard before might be one of the opportunities that we could publicise through such an internet option. We're looking at focusing the information and services. I think one of the things that came out through, for example, the Roundtree report was that there's lots of information and services out there, but people don't know where to go. So the idea is having a one-stop window, focusing all the information and services that people need.
I think we've got a lot to thank Peter Fletcher for the research he's done, you know, in all the deprived areas of Liverpool. And I think this is why it's like having the money, the empowerment fund and all this, which maybe in time you'd be able to come along to the Senior Citizens Forum and get the news out that way.
Very much so.
Eh?
I'd very much
Keep
like
that in mind. Keep that in mind. Anybody got any questions to ask, you know?
Yeah, I think the chatters want to know how do we get in touch with you?
They can call me on 0151 225 225 3032 or email me on shall I continue? Yeah, naomi.graham@liverpool.gov.uk. I think you mentioned an important point, Dolly, about people not having access to the internet, not having access to information. And the e-government agenda is focused on providing all appropriate services by 2005. And Liverpool City Council is committed to doing that by 2004. And what we want to make sure is that the people that don't have access to the internet aren't excluded from that agenda.
That's right, most important.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'm doing is as part of the Older Persons Information Network project, for want of a better name, is actually we're rolling out some computers to identify if that really is the channel that is most appropriate. We're developing the website to identify whether or not that really is the method by which people want to communicate, want to find their e-services. And would be very interested in hearing people's opinions on how they like to be contacted, how they like to get their information and services.
Exactly.
But I'm actually quite impressed when I go to the Active Age Centre and see the computer suite there. Absolutely chocker. And Warwickshire has something called Silver Surface, and they've actually been providing information and services using set-top boxes and the internet. And they found things like, when you talked about community before, actually you can get an online community. And one of the biggest benefits has been people being able to email their grandchildren, email, you know, their support network, email their carer, just have a chat. And I think today is one fantastic example of it, to be able to do that. But again, we go back to the point of making sure that people have access to this. So it's access. And then the third point is actually training, because you can't just
you've got to
get a computer. And I've been told a number of times that actually people wouldn't like to be taught by me. They'd prefer to be taught by somebody of their generation who understands the issues that they face when they're using a computer. And so we're actually working with ActiveAge to provide some training, and working with the adult learning services to providing training in people's homes, so you don't have to go out. And obviously we'd encourage people to go to the libraries, to go to BBC Online, to go to all the places around Liverpool where it's at, but that's not always possible.
Yeah,
Yep.
Can you give a concrete example of what's how telecare has improved or actually worked, or is it still at pilot stage?
Okay, we've got a number of the pilot candidates are being identified at the moment. The research has actually shown something like, I mentioned gait analysis, which is if somebody isn't walking particularly well or isn't as mobile as they had been, that would be a predictor for a balance issue where somebody might have a fall.
Yeah, I do realise this new technology is going to give people, you know, the quality of life which they deserve, you know, which they've missed out on in lots of ways and regarding the health. But there's so much now needed for elderly people. I have tried we've had classes on our site for the computer, but it's not, like, I'm only speaking for myself, of course. There's other people. I have glaucoma of the one eye, and of course I cannot, I've tried it and I've tried to fight it, but it interfered a lot, so I had to give it up. And a couple of more that was in the same cataracts, that was wanting to learn, couldn't.
Yeah.
That's one of the problems that we have to deal with is some of the equipment we're given to work with is so intricate. We try and leave stuff with people so that they can create their own work. But something like a mini disc recorder, it's like, you know, it's such a complicated piece of equipment that it's not designed for sort of people who have difficulty moving their hands and stuff like that. And also, like, as you're talking about your eyesight, and I work with someone at St. Thomas's, and she has very poor sight, and she has to look at things very close up, and to be able to use a keyboard becomes quite difficult. But there are ways around that. You can set it up so that you can talk to the computer and get round it that way.
Yeah. And so the next time I go to the hospital for my appointment, I'll see how it goes.
Yes.
And then I'll be popping into ActiveAge or Medium Merseyside, that's near at hand. They've got all the equipment, you know, too.
I think there are a lot of organisations that will actually help people with quite severe disabilities access computers, and there's something called AbilityNet. There's actually an office in Liverpool, and some people that I work with MND have no hand movement, sometimes they have no speech, but they can still work computer with the right kind of technology. And so there are people that can help make sure that it's accessible to everybody. So, you know, it's just knowing who to contact, really.
And I think that's important, because you said knowing who to contact, and then that goes back to a single point of information where you know you can go to, and it would link, the network would actually link up with the providers such as ActiveAge, such as Age Concern, etc., all the local providers. So you would know, and AbilityNet exactly, you would know who to go to. But I think we can actually learn. You were giving examples of difficulties that you would face, and yourselves know of more difficulties. But it's through pilots and through trialling things that we can actually identify what the issues are and overcome them. I ran a similar project for Looked After Children, and you know, the whole project was about learning, you know, exactly how we needed to provide the information and how they could actually use computers to benefit their life outcomes.
Right. Well, I only hope that it really does take off. I hope I'm around.
I hope I'll be chatting with you.
Exactly. I hope I'm around when all it does, because it means so much to the community these days, because we are an ageing community. And with the first one before, any other generation living longer, I used to sing that song when I'm 64. It's now when I'm 84. It's all, life's all changed all around us, and this technology is so, it's important, don't get me wrong, but it's hard to digest in our age group to people when, what do you mean, like the computer and all this, you know, and this is what I mean, they're the ones that are missing out.
Yes.
Them people in organisations that look at the website, you know, and can think, you know what's going on in the area, you know, and that. But it's very hard to digest this new technology with us all, you know, with the mobile phones and everything else, you know.
Well,
So
I firmly believe it should be a facilitator for all your life activities.
Yeah.
So if you want to communicate with your community, it's just another method that you can do that. If you want to access a service, it's another method of doing that.
I think as long as it doesn't become a substitute for,
exactly.
for contact and
Yes.
real communication.
You can arrange, I agree, and I think, you know, one of the things is to ensure there is, you know, person-to-person contact throughout as well. So,
yes, I agree with that.
You can arrange it across the net.
We will, we will. We won't lose sight of you, don't worry about that. Is there any other questions? Anyone know?
Anybody like a robot doctor?
A robot?
A robot doctor.
A robot doctor? A robot
Would you
doctor?
trust
Oh,
a
that's
robot
something new, is
doctor?
it? That's something new. Robot doctor.
Well, in Japan, they're talking about having robot nurses in the wards.
I think for sometimes it'd be nice not to deal with a human being when you go in to discuss your illnesses and have all their sort of prejudices and what have you. It'd be really good just to talk to a machine. Yeah.
I'd sooner have personal touch.
To
be honest with you.
For some things,
Robot nurse. I don't think it would
I'd sooner have the one
but
to
the
one.
robot nurse, no, I'm not sure about that.
I don't want to be replaced by a robot, really.
But often you go to a doctor for information. You know, why would you want to see a doctor? You know.
I think that's very confusing in all these days. You know, your dementia and your what's the other serious one?
Sorry.
What's the other serious?
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer. And you know, some people say, "Oh, such a one's got Alzheimer." She's miles away now, but you know, it's not Alzheimer. You don't know anybody. But dementia is just another form of forgetting.
Yes.
Repeating, because I've had it in the family and I've weighed it up.
Yes.
You know, that you've got to really weigh it up. This one you can learn to educate yourself. Not only me, there's others, you know, our reps and that have got the same thing in the families with brothers and dads and that. And it's very, very confusing, you know. And this is what I mean. The more help we get in this new technology, whatever, you know, it's more beneficial to the family to keep the parent or whatever at home rather than in the hospital. Everyone wants. I was in hospital twice last year, but I wanted to be in my own home.
Yeah.
But while I was in hospital, I couldn't mind that. I was going around asking questions. When I got up and got better, I went around. That's my thing. If people, I love people.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, is everything all right for them, you know, in the ward and that I was in. And we know there's a shortage of staff everywhere, but in the hospitals today, we've got to feel sorry for them that work there, to be honest. Anybody that's working in the hospital today is hectic. But there you are. We'll save an awful lot of expense, won't we, when this home business starts?
With telecare. Well, if we can keep people in their homes, if that's where they want to be,
I think
then,
so. I really think so.
Yeah.
I think people, you know, and especially them that's got no family, you know, if we have the community thing, in the community, in the homes, no one likes to be in hospital, even though we've got to go sometimes. But we don't like hospitals, but we do like our own bed in our own home and be looked after there. I think that's a strong view in our age group, you know, that I listen to a lot of people and that comes up, oh, it's going to be in my own bed, Dolly, you know. So what we're doing, this technology, this you're doing, the City Council, it'll be ideal because the only thing is, will it cause any, what's the word for us, when anything goes wrong and they want to go somewhere out, maybe someone's taken them out, that's lifeline. You know, it's technology that's going to be in the home. These different buttons and blah, 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 you know, to
won't
press.
have...
Will it be confusing
No,
like?
no, there'll be nothing like that. I mean, one of the advantages is that you can the monitoring system will actually sort of learn your pattern of behaviour, so it will know, you know, if you go out of a day, then that's perfectly normal. If you don't go out of a day, that might be not be normal.
What I mean. That's what I mean.
So it will identify the differences between
That's
them.
what I meant, yeah.
And you're also able to just make a call to actually switch it off if you're going away on holiday, or you know, if you're actually going to be doing something that's substantially different.
Yes,
so.
because what it is, I've just moved to a house recently into a bungalow. I must have touched the wrong button looking around, and the blinking alarm went up, and the whole blinking thing, it was all in an uproar, all coming to my aid, you know, which was good. But this is what I meant to, you know, ask you, you know, when I'm in the house when it happened. So God knows, when you go out on a weekend, a holiday, you say like that, it will be all right.
Yes, I mean, in terms of everyday things, the monitoring system learns, so it knows what is usual and what is unusual. And then in terms of substantially different things, such as going on holiday or away, then we can just actually deactivate the monitoring for that time.
See, this alarm system has got to have your birthday date. And of course, it was the other woman's birthday date, and of course, but there you are.
But I think it's lessons like that, once again, is that, you know, to ensure that what we put in is not too complicated, to ensure that actually when somebody rings you up and says, are you all right, the person at the end of the phone knows that that's what they're going to say, and then they can just react.
Yeah, the carer, you've got to have like a carer of the family or whoever to be the partner in this technology to rely on.
Well,
right?
In a number of the candidates we do, in a number of the other candidates actually, that there is, I mean, there might be a neighbour, but that neighbour isn't going to be available 24 hours a day. So what we actually say is for each of the informal carers, we call them, they actually identify when they're happy to be contacted. And Careline will actually run through, and if there's nobody available, then they'll actually take the initiative to check out.
Yeah.
So there's a whole series of steps that you'd take if an alarm were raised, dependent on who's available, really.
Yeah. Okay, I've got another question again about technology is great and marvellous, but is it symptomatic of a lack of family life? Is this a substitute? Which is missing, which should be there. And I think the question is asking is, and is an easy option, if people see this coming in into people's lives, will they retreat from their duty, for the want of a better expression?
Oh gosh, I don't think it's replacing family life at all. I know personally that I have a great aunt who lives 50 miles away, who I will visit every weekend, but I can't be there all the time. And to actually know that there is somebody looking out for her those times that I can't be there would help. But Dolly, you probably know.
I just don't know. It's an unusual question. You know the way the world is going now with families breaking up, and you know it's very hard to explain, isn't it? Don't you think so? Yourself, you know, you're working. You said you can only go over a weekend.
Yes.
Well, what if there's many more families like you that is in the same position?
I think there's
two
things.
You're the one up saying you can't go for a weekend, and maybe you're the most reliable in the family.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
I think it's there's communities of neighbours, there's communities of families, but there's also communities of additional support groups, because not everybody, I mean, people want to work with the likes of the Rossetta organisation, because it's something, it's not their carer. You know, it's an additional community that they actually want to become involved in. And I don't think we should be reducing the communities. I think, you know, we should be expanding them if possible. And if that's online, if that's through other organisations where you use art as a means of, you know, expressing yourself, or through, I mean, many of the groups that you're on, Dolly, I mean, you Senior Citizens Forum, you go around your neighbourhood. I think those things are springing up.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I think it's trying to retain a good community as well without money.
Yes.
You know, we know you've got the money, the technology, but years ago, you look after your neighbour. Your doors were open. How are you, Mary? How are you? How are you? How are you? Keeping that community spirit in this generation is so important.
Yeah.
Because we've had it, and look where we've got it today. You know. But it's so important that to try and do that in communities.
Yeah.
We know that what you're doing is good. It costs money, but this doesn't cost money to put oneself out.
That's right.
Really.
It might facilitate it if you're actually having to identify carers or a neighbour who would pop in.
Yeah.
It actually might facilitate the building of a community, because all of a sudden people realise I'm looking out for somebody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, love.
Yeah, thank you so much. Shout to everybody. Thank everybody logging on live. Can we just get your, what was the telephone number to contact again if anybody's got a volunteer? Sorry, for the City Council.
Sorry, what was
the
that?
City Council telephone number again.
Is 0151.
Sorry, City.
What's the City Council?
Sorry,
233
233
3019. 19.
233 3019.
Yep.
Okay. And you're looking for volunteers. If anybody knows anybody or wants to get involved.
Absolutely. If you contact me.
We put Dolly's name down first, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, please.
There you are. There's one.
A little bit of time in each I can give. Yeah.
Right. Okay. There you are. It hasn't. Okay, I'll just chat about it. Antisocial behaviour. Great. Somebody's going to put a brick through the computer. Right, okay, thank you very much.
That's it.
All right.
Thank Naomi.